Welcome back. Another day of working on the 350 Sprint. The hope today is to be able to remove the motor. I do have the motor braced with the stand here, so now I need to go through and loosen all the bolts and get everything backed out, and I hope that I can remove this easily, at least guide it down somewhat with this, hoping that'll work. Not exactly sure, I haven't taken one of these apart before, so a lot of it looks fairly straightforward and simple, but I'm not 100% sure. With that being said, we'll go ahead and we'll get this loosened up and see if we can get it apart here. And some of these things I think are going to be really stuck. I did spray everything down last night with PB Blast, but unfortunately I feel like the rust on the bottom side here is going to be a tough one to work with. Try with a little bit of power here. That worked easier than I thought it would. See if we can get the other side to come on. It's funny, the cap nut was actually hand tightened on there. I noticed that last night. I'm going to attempt to drive this out the other side. I'm hoping that's all I need to do with this bottom one. I'm not exactly sure. Thankfully that is moving. I've got this piece of grade 8 threaded rod, which is actually a little bit smaller in diameter than the rod that's running through here. And I've used this to drive things in the past, so I'm going to use it again. Got one rod out. The nice part is these are actually already loose, so pulling this is going to be fairly simple. Side cover, that is. I do believe. Pretty tight fit in there. Alright, and then from there, I'm going to remove this top shackle here. I believe once this is off, then I should be able to push the bolt clear through. And it's trying to thread out. I think we've hit a stop point here, so I'm going to use that thread rod again to drive that bolt out the other side. It should be, it's a little big, so that may not work. Just enough to push it. Okay, and then from there, I think the only point that's holding it on is this nut and bolt right here. I don't think anything else is actually holding the motor in place. I think it's just those 3 points. So with that, I'll go ahead and work on getting this nut out of this side. Not a lot of working room on this one. Not sure if I can get a ratcheting wrench in there or not. We'll give that a try and see if there's just enough space. Unfortunately, there is not. Assuming this is some sort of a breather, a crankcase vent or something, and that line is pretty stiff and it's honestly right in the way. And I couldn't get a socket in here either if I needed to. All right, we'll try the same trick with a threaded rod here. Let's see if this can drive out. And then maybe thread it in place. So I think I can get this side with a socket. We're going to attempt that real quick. See if that's an option. Wow, that thing is stuck. Yeah, that was rusted in place pretty good. I think I have everything set now to be able to lower this motor out of the frame. So I'm going to give this a couple turns and see what it does, see if it actually comes down at all. And it's not, so let's see where else we could be hooked. There may be just enough pressure on these ears here. I think I'll try to get that other side to loosen up just a little bit and see if that'll help it along. That made quite a bit of difference. It was just enough pinch pressure on these shackles here, I feel, to hold the motor in place. So I think we're free. Now we'll see if we can lower this down. That side's still got a little bit of pressure on it. So I'm going to try to loosen up this nut just a little more. Try to back this out just a touch. Still hanging on that top carriage. That's funny. See if I can pry on it a little bit with a pry bar. And I know it's going to rest on the other side. The gear selector is over there, and I know it's going to rest on that. And I don't want it to rest too hard on that. I don't want to break it. try to clear some of this debris away from this mount here. We're pretty close, I feel, to lowering this motor. A lot of acorns and squirrel or mouse debris. Not exactly sure what's been living in here. Hard telling. There we are. That pinch pressure was just enough to keep it in place, and I was really afraid it was going to snap too hard and the whole motor was going to fall forward and fall on the floor. That's what I didn't want to happen, and thankfully it didn't. So now we'll slowly lower it down. I don't believe there's anything really holding it in place. I know I'll have to go through and remove the coil wires here. The stator wires, excuse me. Should be able to pull these up through the hole here, I hope. That outer coating is super dry. Let's start to move a little bit at a time. All right, that gets those out of the way. They're on the hanger there, so we'll get them off this hanger here. All right. Find the best place to grab this thing. I don't want to drop it. We do have one wire plugged in. I guess I didn't realize that was something electrical. I think I can pull this. Just a blade connection. All right. That gets the motor out of the way. It really takes a big chunk out of this project here. So with the motor being out of the way, now it's time to figure out what to do next. I know I have the right side peg to remove. The wiring's got to come out yet. I guess the swing arm could come apart. Get the wheels off of it, get the front end tore down. Shouldn't take a whole lot longer to get done. So we'll start on removing the small things, get this peg off. I think I can get that off now since I have more room to work, and try to back this wiring out of the way so I can have that as one contained complete unit. Not sure if that brake light switch will thread out of there. I think it will. These metal bands are just rotting right off of the bike, which is nice because that way I can pull the wiring easier. Hoping to keep the wiring complete. I like to have this all intact so it's still usable. The ends are in pretty good shape. I mean, a couple of the clip ends have come off in a few spots, but they should be easily replaced, I would imagine. Different blade ends. It won't be factory, but at least they could be used again. And the wiring doesn't look to be in bad shape. Some of the coating is brittle in a few spots, and that's to be expected on a bike of this age that's sat for so long and in a harsh environment. hoping these are 10 millimeter. They're looking pretty rough. We'll see how well they come off. Now I've got a socket here. Still haven't lost it, thankfully. Still time to lose it though. I know how quickly 10 millimeters run off. Alright, I guess the coil free, which is nice. Oh, working on hooking the horn. It's amazing how many different size nuts and bolts they put on these bikes. Work on vintage Harleys and it's the same consistent sizes. Or with this, got a 13 millimeter here and a 10 millimeter there and a 17 millimeter there. Alright, the horn's off now. Let's see what else we have hooked up here. I've got some switch controls that I can unplug. So I'm working on unplugging those. A headlight that I can unplug. I think once I have these few things unplugged, the wiring is completely off. Some of the aluminum bits are oxidized in place. You don't want to let go of their old wires. Trying to decide if I should keep the housings with the wiring or if I should try to separate it all. I know sometimes certain people don't want the wiring and certain people only want the housings, but this one's wired in pretty well and they don't know that it unplugs. I'm not really sure. Maybe I can get that one undone. Thinking somebody tried to jump start this at one point in time because the shielding on the wiring up here is a little bit melted. So I put too much power to it, possibly. I don't know. Got a green wire and a brown wire plugged in here, and I think if I can unplug these, then I can have that housing free with complete wiring. So I pulled the wrong two brown and green wires. And there's the main harness. It came out easier than I expected it to. That's the left housing, right housing, or left housing, right housing, yep. Been a little hesitant to work on this one here. This piece looks like it's completely, maybe maybe not, soldered together by rust. You would expect it to be, that's for sure. I mean, there's a ton of rust right here, but it is unscrewing from the housing. Not that this cable's in good shape or anything like that, but I do want it to go with the left control, just because it is a factory piece and maybe somebody wants it, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. It does have rust, but I do think that someone could oil it up real well and make it work again. Trying to remove this rear brake line. And that gets the rear brake lever out of the way. Now with most of the parts removed, the engine being taken out of the cradle, I'm going to go ahead and remove the front straps and let the bike just be held by the cycle vise. This will give me the opportunity to start really stripping off the handlebars, the speedometer, the headlights, get the front fender taken off. I'll re-brace this in a little bit here so I can get the shocks off and get the rear wheel out of the way, chain guard, and have this bike pretty much torn completely apart. So with that, we'll get this loosened up here. There wasn't a ton of pressure on there, just enough to hold it in place. I just like having the added insurance of having the straps in place just to hold the bike together to make sure it doesn't move a whole lot on the stand. I know some folks run them, some folks don't.